Hello, everyone. I'm Sean Bowen. I have no idea what I'm talking about, and this is Teen Talks Politics. Play the intro. Okay, so happy Saturday, everyone. Welcome back to another Teen Talks Politics video. I hope you all are doing well. I just finished my last exam for midterms. So far, it's been pretty good. A lot of B's, so that's always a good thing. Today, what we're going to be talking about is the 2026 Senate election. So you might know that there is a midterm election coming up this year. And this is a really important election. Like, compared to last year's elections, this is extremely important because this really has stakes. This is going to really determine, how Trump can govern the country. Because if he loses control of the Senate and the House, he won't be able to pass his agenda like he is able to do right now. And right now, the House is looking like it's going to flip blue, but the Senate's a lot more iffy. It's a big problem is that a lot of the states that Republicans are up for re-election in are states that Trump won by large margins. There's not a lot of really competitive states, and out of all those competitive states, most of them are leaning Republican. So today, what we're going to look at is what are Democrats' best chances to win the Senate election? So I'm going to look at a couple states. We're going to look at some polls. I'm using the Wikipedia page for that. So, all right, let's look. So the first state that we'll look at is Alaska. So, as we know, you might know, Alaska is usually considered a traditional Republican state, but it actually has a lot more independent or voters who choose not to say what their party affiliation is. So because of that, it's not as Republican as people think. Now, right now, the current senator is Dan Sullivan. He is running for re-election, and Democrats probably received the best news they could of 2026 so far, is that former Congresswoman from Alaska's at-large congressional district has announced she is running for re-election. Now, her name is Mary Peltola. Now, the interesting thing about Peltola is even though she did lose her election back in 2024, I believe, is that Alaska only has one congressional district because it's such a small population. The state has a small population. And because of that, she has already performed statewide. Most congressmen have only performed well in their districts, but she has performed, she's already won her election before, or I think she's won it twice, and then she lost by around 2 points, outperforming Kamala Harris by a lot back in 2024. So she is going to definitely be a really going to help the Democrats if they want to win this. And we'll look at some polls. Now, right now, most forecasters have this as lean Republican. What all that means is that the Republicans have a slight edge in the race. But so far, the last three polls that have been taken have shown Mary Peltola leading Dan Sullivan by narrow margins, 2 or 1 point. So that's surprising. The fact that she is really beating him in most polls, and a lot of these polls are not Democrat polls. The only poll out of the two polls or the three polls that are here, the only one is that is Democrat. There's only one, so that really shows you how very close this will be, and how Mary Peltola has a very good chance of unseating Dan Sullivan. Okay, the next state that we'll look at. I'm not sure if I want to do Iowa, just because Iowa has, ever since Joni Ernst announced she's retiring, that Iowa is probably much more likely to go Republican. But Maine. So Maine is traditionally a Democratic state, but its current senator, Susan Collins, she's a moderate Republican, is not running for re-election yet. She's expressed her interest, but she's probably going to run. And the Democratic primary is very competitive. Right now we have Janet Mills, the incumbent governor of Maine, of the state of Maine, and then Graham Plattner, who is a former veteran and he is a harbor master. And what we're seeing is a battle between the establishment wing of the Democratic Party and the progressive wing of the Democratic Party. You know, the people who are endorsing Janet Mills, who's the the establishment candidate. Chuck Schumer literally is the Senate Majority Leader. You know, or Minority Leader, not Majority. Maybe he'll be the Majority Leader, but right now he's the Minority Leader. He's the ultimate establishment person. Andy Beshear, governor of Kentucky, he's literally the chair of the Democratic Governors Council. But then you look at Graham Plattner, and he's got endorsements from Bernie Sanders. You know, probably the most left-wing member of the U.S. Senate. You've got Ro Khanna, one of the most left-wing members of the U.S. House. Right now, Plattner has a much better fundraising than Mills. But Mills is actually leading in a lot of polls right now. Looking at this, just because probably, just because she's the establishment candidate. But that's going to be a close primary. Now, looking at the polling, it's a really close race. Like, none of these, the polls are showing that this race is going to really go down to the wire. A lot of ties. Now, right now, it looks like both Graham Plattner and Janet Mills would have a good shot at defeating Susan Collins. The next state, and remember, I'm assuming that Democrats aren't gonna lose the states that they already have, or the seats that they already have. The next state is going to be North Carolina. So Tom Tillis announced that he was retiring from the current U.S. Senator was retiring from the seat, mainly because he's a moderate Republican, and a lot of the Republicans censured him because of his support for things like gun control. And right now, the RNC chair, Michael Whatley, has taken his place as the nominee, or not the nominee yet, but the front runner for the race, and that's really bad for Republicans because he's a big-time Trump ally, especially because they're going against probably one of the most powerful, strong non-incumbents in the entire country, and that's Roy Cooper, who is the Democratic frontrunner for the race. He is the governor. He's the former governor of the state of North Carolina, and he is seen as absolutely a powerhouse candidate, and it's showing. He's already raised $10 million, and every single poll shows him defeating Michael Whatley. So that really says something, is that there's a very good chance. Like, these margins are absolutely bad, like incredible for a Democrat in North Carolina. 6 points, 4 points, 5 points, insane. All right. Next state is going to be Ohio. So Ohio, another one of those big long-term Republican states. Currently, Jon Husted, he is a non-elected incumbent because he was appointed after J.D. Vance was became the what's it called? What is it called? Current vice president. He had to leave that seat, so Jon Husted was appointed to fill the remainder of J.D. Vance's seat. And because of that, Jon Husted is now up for re-election. And Democrats got one of the best news of the cycle was then when former Senator Sherrod Brown announced that he was going to challenge Jon Husted this year. Now, Sherrod Brown was a long-time senator ever since 2007. He just got unseated though by a Republican. I don't remember the Republican's name, but Sherrod Brown absolutely overperformed compared to Kamala Harris in the state, and a lot of people think that if Kamala Harris had performed well, or if the national environment was more favorable to Democrats, then Sherrod Brown could still be senator. So that's really going to be an important race. Now, the polling still shows Jon Husted leading because it's a very Republican state, but only by around a point, which is really, if I was Republicans, I'd be worried because these are not very good polling numbers, especially for a state that is supposed to be super Republican. So I think if the Sherrod Brown really runs a good campaign, he could unseat Jon Husted. Next state is going to be, or actually the final state, looks like, is going to be Jon Husted, or I don't know, sorry guys, Texas. Now Texas, currently John Cornyn, who is the incumbent U.S. Senator, he is facing a primary challenge from the current Attorney General of Texas, Ken Paxton, and also a primary challenge from U.S. Representative Wesley Hunt. And Paxton is actually leading Cornyn in a lot of polls. Now, because Wesley Hunt is in the race, it's very likely that this is going to get into a runoff because all three candidates have lots of support among the party. A lot of these polls show Paxton leading narrowly, which means that there is most likely going to be a runoff between the two candidates, which will be interesting to watch. Now, on the Democratic side, I forgot to mention, if Ken Paxton wins, then Democrats' chances go up a lot because Ken Paxton is an ultra-conservative, especially compared to John Cornyn. And if Ken Paxton gets the nomination, then Democrats could easily just say that we're the moderate party. But this also hinges on who the Democratic nominee is. And currently, the two candidates are Jasmine Crockett, the U.S. Representative, and State Representative James Tallarico. Now, you might know I am a big Tallarico fan. I like what he stands for. He's a moderate Democrat, and he is able to use his faith as a Presbyterian seminarian and had to explain why he supports progressive ideas. Now, and he's very in a good position, but polling is iffy. The first poll that showed between them showed her leading the race. The most recent poll actually shows Tallarico leading the race, and they're actually going to have a debate on the 24th of this month. So that's going to be very exciting because I'm hoping that Tallarico can give Crockett, show that he is the better candidate and he's the more electable candidate because he's a lot more moderate than Jasmine Crockett, who is a outspoken anti-Trumpist, which in Texas, a state that Trump won by 14 points, is not a good thing to be. Now, most polls do show the Republicans still winning, but it shows two things. First of all, Ken Paxton is the worst choice to be the bad choice for the Republican nominee, and James Tallarico is the good choice. And if those two things happen, then Democrats could be on track to win the election, win the Senate election. So that's it for the video. This video is a lot longer than the others, but I hope you enjoyed it. All right, see you on the next one.